They're being blackmailed, whether they were good before or bad before or a mix, whatever. I mean, this is even mainstream news, that it's being blackmailed to do the bidding of the globalist. So regardless, it's globalist run now. And I mean, here it is in AP. Pope and Congress. Francis is certain to challenge lawmakers. We're going to have some religious leader in Congress from a foreign sovereign city on the banks of the Tiber lecturing us and calling for open borders and all this. Is just crazy. And that shows how weak America is. I mean, we shouldn't have the head Buddhist leader or the head Jewish leader or the head Protestant leader, Billy Graham, address Congress. We have a separation of church and state. And that doesn't mean you can't have your religious views in a public institution. You can say a prayer at commencement. You can have a Bible at school. The state has no jurisdiction in that. We don't have state-run religion. I mean, this is unprecedented. All of this is unprecedented. All of it. Said I want to take a bunch of calls. It's one caller is all I got to there. Christian in Texas, you're on the air. Then Julia.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Alex, thanks for taking my call. I'm 14 years old, but I've been listening to your show for about 2 years. But I told my parents and some friends, and I said, I'm not old enough to vote, but, people who are 18 and older, adults have they can vote, and it affects them. Whatever, what happens in this country affects them, and it affects, us, the youth. But, about Donald Trump, I just, he seems good what he's talking about, and he seems like would make a great president, but I just have the feeling that if he does become president, that he's going to be just like Obama. He went out there and said, I'm not going to take your shotguns, I'm not going to take your handguns, and I'm not going to take your semi-autos, but look what he's trying to do.
I hear you, and God bless you, Christian. As a 14-year-old listening for 2 years, what perspective has this broadcast given you?
It's really opened up my eyes and to see what's going on. I mean, I used to, I didn't care for the news, but I figured out that, all this stuff it affects us, and that, and today's in schools, as me going to school, I mean, I realized that they're pretty much brainwashing us, and the stuff that they say, it's ridiculous.
Oh, it's outrageous. Bad-mouthing the Constitution, bad-mouthing the institution of marriage. Now they're saying marriage is bad because it hurts people's feelings. Again, it's cult-like. Good to hear from you. Appreciate your call. Julia in Kentucky, you're on the air.
Hi, Alex. First of all, before I say anything else, before I talk about Donald Trump, I wanted to tell you to check out CERN, C-E-R-N, September 23rd, 2015, because there may not be another election. This might just be to cover up for a lot of stuff that's going on right now. But anyway, about Donald Trump, I wanted to say that he might be in some type of prostitution ring. I know I'm not trying to, bring him down or anything, but that might be why the Clintons are trying to back him up, because my son worked for him in his casino in Indiana, and he worked at the gambling table. He was a dealer, and he met this woman there, and she was a Filipino woman, and she tried to fix him up. She actually did fix him up with her niece, who was from the Philippines. And she does this with a lot of women from the Philippines. I don't know what she's doing. It seems
well, sure, but that's not prostitution, bringing in mail-order brides.
Well, she's doing more than that. My son believes that she's got some type of prostitution ring thing going on with Donald Trump, because they're really good friends, and she's really rich. She's got a lot of money. She buys Mercedes.
Now, wait a minute. There are no prostitutes at casinos. Okay, and there are no fish in lakes, and there's no birds in the sky. And I'm sure Donald Trump is perfect, wonderful guy. You can Google Donald Trump and women and him, at the Miss America, whatever, all hanging on him. I'm a libertarian. My view is on it, decriminalize it all, because making it criminal only allows it to be seedy and controlled by the mafia. But yeah, no, I mean, clearly Donald Trump has all the swagger and all the aplomb of a gangster. And he hangs out with gangsters like the Clintons. He says a lot of great stuff. It's good to see him slap a bunch of politically correct scumbags around. But that said, it doesn't pass the smell test. But I don't want to just get up here and, you know, speculate and claim that Donald Trump is in prostitution rings. I mean, I appreciate your call. I'll tell you what, DynCorp and Halliburton and others have been caught. That doesn't mean if you work for Halliburton you're involved, I want to be clear. But it came out in mainstream news, NBC News, Chicago Tribune, a decade ago, that they were running operations where they were grabbing underage women, boys, you name it, throwing them on C-130s, and they were just disappearing. And we knew this because UN people blew the whistle. So the sky's the limit. I mean, that's the thing. They'll bust some John, you know, picking up a hooker on South Congress in Austin, Texas, and throw the book on them. At least they did in the old days. They don't really do that now. And then, though, if some big company is actually running, you know, sex trade with underage women brought into Houston, nothing's done about it. I mean, there are whole areas of the country where it's just well known they're running basically sex slaves into the country, out of the country, nothing's done. So if it's big, official, oppressive, white slavery, and every time I say that, I get an email going, oh, you don't care about black slavery? White slavery means sexual slavery, ladies and gentlemen. I know most of you know that, but if it's real slavery, they leave it alone. But if it's a woman on her own out there making some money, then they'll call it prostitution or whatever. And so I guess if you take a woman out to dinner and buy her jewelry, it's prostitution too, by their benchmark. They've had cases in this country where people hook up online and the woman wants to be taken to dinner and wants to be, you know, have something bought, and they're calling that prostitution in New York City and taking people's cars. Then meanwhile, it turns out the governor that passed the law is seeing high-dollar hookers himself. We're going to go to Rich and others here in just a moment. Then I'm going to come back, hit a bunch of news we haven't really hit yet, play some important clips. You know, I don't want to say I have Ferguson fatigue, but just to see the public being played, because there is some police brutality, there is militarization of police, there are a lot of real problems. But the feds are globalist occupied. They want to smash local police departments, run them into the arms of the globalist, and that's why George Soros is spending over $100 million, 30+ million in Ferguson alone, to stir this up, and has really hired a lot of nasty political operators to do it. And in most of the cases, the justifiable shootings the police are engaged in. There are other ones where they're absolutely executions, and when there's evidence of it, they're indicting the police officers. There's video of just a cop pulls a gun and just shoots a white person for no reason, or shoots a black person. It's crazy. And bigger than population, blacks being 13%, black males being about 6%, it is disproportionate black males being killed in cold blood. You just can't deny it. But compared to blacks dying from abortion or you know, heart disease and all this other stuff, it just doesn't even show up on the scale. Less than 100, if you look at the numbers, questionable black males being shot by police a year. That sounds like a big number. 100 out of 300+ million people? I mean, it is just a total diversion from all the serious things, and then just creates racial animosity that, I mean, I grew up where you just knew racists were just idiots who just didn't like you because they were dumb, whether they were white or black. And now it's the point where even on King of the Hill years ago, Mike Judge made the point, we'll play a clip of that in a second, that how come I can only hate somebody if they're white? And it becomes this idea that whites commit more crime and whites are inherently bad. And it's just not historical. It's not accurate. In fact, here's that Hank Hill clip.
What the hell kind of country is this where I can only hate a man if he's white?
We need to get Mike Judge live on the show. He's a big listener, listens all the time. He even let me shoot video of us shooting out of his house a couple times. I never aired it for some reason. I need to air that video. It's a pretty good video. Well, I got a little excited during one shot. That's probably why I haven't aired it. He's got like 15 people shooting 308s, AR-15s, you name it, at huge boxes of tannerite. I say huge boxes, maybe 5, 10-pound boxes. And while I'm talking, a couple of them blow up, and there's pieces of cinder block flying around. And one of them hits me in the back of the head. Maybe that's why I never put that video out. But it was good fun. That wasn't one of the times I had my kids out there shooting. But definitely a lot of fun. Let's talk to Rich in New York. Rich, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Alex? Alex, Donald Trump is a game show host. He's clown shoes. The guy panders to anyone who'll line his pockets. He's a shill and a half and nothing more. Just like the way Beck once in a while would say some things of truth, because you have to mix lies with the truth in order to get people to even listen to what you say. This is what this guy is. Plain and simple. That's it.
Well, I've thought about going after Trump, and you could really do it, showing him in the WWE, showing him doing other stunts, showing him flip-flopping. I know. Well, then let me ask you this. Why won't the other Republicans, like Rand Paul, why won't they get hardcore and say the popular, constitutional, common sense? Why is it Trump?
Easy, probably because of fear, for them, their families or whatnot. You're talking about gangsters here. It may look it may look all nice on the outside, but what goes behind the scenes, we have no idea. I can guarantee you that these people are threatened, and these people have their backs up against the wall, and they're told if they say anything, this might happen, that might happen. Who knows what'll happen?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say what I know about certain political candidates, but you're absolutely right. I've been told in confidence throughout the years, we'll just leave it at that, about some pretty wild stuff. And the weird thing is, when people get threatened or really weird stuff happens, I mean, we're talking in the category of horse heads in your bed. They know it'll sound crazy if you come out in the news and talk about it, so people just don't discuss it. So you're absolutely right. Stay there, Rich. I want you to have time to finish up. You've held for 20 minutes, and then we'll go to Steve, Rich, Jeff, Mike. I'm going to blitz through these calls, 1 minute apiece. Going back to Rich, and then I'm going to hit the news, and then back into calls. I've done pretty good today. I've taken like 30-something calls. 800-259-9231. We're focusing on Planet Trumpus. I get high on speed. Top fuel funny car is the drug for me. By the way, there's an article out today. The golden age of muscle cars is now in USA Today. And I absolutely agree with USA Today. I have some friends and folks that have things like the new Corvettes and things like that. And let me tell you, I've driven 600 horsepower Porsches. I've driven all sorts of cars that were just made, 10, 15, 20 years ago. They are nothing compared to American muscle now. Nothing. And I might as well just make this announcement, only because I want to celebrate pure Americana. I was getting a Jeep, trading in an old Jeep that I'd had for 15 years or so, about 2 years ago. And the fella at the Jeep dealership, I try to buy American when I can. Now it's owned by Fiat, of course, but still made here. I said, hey, this is really cool Dodge Viper, but I never get one of these. Plus, I know it's not that fast compared to some other cars. And he goes, wait till the Dodge Hellcat comes out. You ought to get one. He goes, a comparable car would be about $500,000, a lower-end Ferrari, and it'll beat those. And I said, you know what? Put me on the list. Well, I got one of the first run. I've had it like 6, 8 months now. And the car, there's just nothing like it. And I think I'm going to do a video on it because it's pure Americana. And it wasn't that expensive. I think I could sell it for more.